So today we're going to talk about resistance. So there's many different forms. This first one that I'm going to mention, you probably haven't thought about before. And if you haven't thought about it, I bet that it's affecting your life. So this is resistance to feeling a certain way. So I'm going to give you an example here. Let's say that you have an emotion come up, like something about the past that creates this whatever feeling. Let's say that there was like resentment against your parents or something like that. And so you have this feeling of hurt, or sadness or something that's there. But every time that you think about it, or maybe every time that it comes up, or that you talk about it, or whatever it happens to be, you make an excuse for this hurt. And you're like, well, my parents are doing the best that they can. And you don't allow yourself to feel that feeling of feeling hurt that was actually truly present. What this is resistance to that feeling, which is why it's been, I don't know, however many years it's been, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and you still feel that way because you have resisted the actual emotion of hurt that is there. And there's nothing wrong with feeling hurt, and it doesn't mean that your parents didn't also do as good as they could do, but it does mean that you still feel a certain way about it, right? And so when we resist it and we say, oh, I don't want to feel this way, I don't want to feel this way, and we try to talk ourselves out of it, we're not actually talking ourselves out of it. What we're doing is swallowing it down and storing it in our body. Second example, let's say you meet somebody and immediately you're just like, ooh, there's something here, and you're falling in love with this person, like for whatever reason, just immediately. And so perhaps this scares you because you've got past trauma around a love wound. And so you talk yourself out of it and you're like, no, I can't feel this way. I can't feel this way. I can't feel this way. Well, what does this do? This resistance to the feeling that you're feeling increases that feeling and makes it more powerful. It now has a hold over you, just like those emotions from the past that you store and keep inside your body. This feeling, the resistance to it, which is really the resistance to the truth, now is stored in your body. And so that feeling of resistance, right, you're fighting yourself. That's the only person that you're fighting is yourself. When you are resisting yourself, it causes chaos and destruction within you. But you know what? You get so used to these things because most people do have some form of resistance to whatever emotions that they're holding inside of themselves from these past traumas. This is exactly what we do. We talk ourselves out of it. We're like, ooh, this is happening. Oh, I don't want to feel that way. Oh, I don't want to, this, whatever. How many times do you tell yourself that in a day? I don't want to feel this way, or whatever it happens to be. This is a form of resistance that is extremely detrimental because most people are completely unaware that it even exists, right? They think that they're doing themselves a favor by talking themselves out of the negative or positive emotion that is there. Every time that you do this, it is because it is fear-based, right? I don't want to create anything bad. I love my parents and whatever. There's a feeling of all of these energies, if it's not an energy of love, it's an energy of fear. And so when we feed the fear, anytime that we have resistance, which I guarantee you that as I've been talking about this, something popped into your head that you're like, oh, that is exactly what I've been doing in this particular situation. Okay, so here's what you can do to ease into that feeling, because what you resist persists. And not only does it persist, it can exaggerate the feeling that's actually there in the first place. So the second example I gave of you meet somebody and immediately you're like, holy cow, like I feel like I'm falling in love with this person. What is going on? Okay, well, when you resist that feeling, then that feeling grows, and it grows and it grows and it grows, and it could become even obsessive. You could begin to become obsessive. But as soon as you allow yourself, so now that you're aware of this, you can immediately do it and never do that to yourself ever again. So as soon as that feeling comes up and you realize that you are creating this resistance by not allowing yourself to feel a certain way, all you got to do is let yourself feel that way. And very quickly, and I am talking extremely quickly, like as in it might take a minute, it might take half a minute, it might take 2 minutes. When you allow it and you go and you accept, like, okay, I actually do feel hurt. I am disappointed. that my parents couldn't love me more perfectly like I wished that they could have, or whatever it happens to be. As soon as you let go of that resistance and you accept, like, okay, I do feel this way, and you just sit in that feeling for a moment, it releases its grip. Why? Because you are no longer creating internal resistance, and you will realize that it was more the feeling of resistance that you were experiencing than the actual emotion from the past trauma or whatever it happened to be. Because you're basically double fighting yourself, right? I'm fighting this thing, this emotion, this trauma that I have from my childhood. I'm fighting it, but I'm also fighting myself for feeling it. We're fighting everywhere. Why do I feel like I'm in conflict? This is why. You've created the chaos for yourself. And it is not benefiting anyone, okay? Second example here of resistance. So when we are resisting the love of the divine, which is flowing at us every second, every moment, right? This is why you get a cut on your arm. You don't have to heal it. You don't have any part of the process of healing that goes on in your body. The divine's perfect love work is done within you without any help from you. This is an example of us not creating resistance. Now, if all of a sudden you got a cut on your arm and you're like, oh, I got some dirt in there, what if I get an infection? Hope nothing bad happens to my arm. And you let your mind get in the way, your consciousness get in the way, you can interfere then with that wound that you have healing. Okay, so this is an example of resistance in the human body that we could step in the way, and through our mind power and our lack of mind control, we could undo the perfect work of the divine, the perfect love work. Okay, another example of resistance. So this is not just in our bodies, this is in the world. When we complain about something, we are resisting what is, right? So you're going for a walk, and you see these beautiful flower pots outside of this person's house, and you're like, oh man, those flower pots are just beautiful. You're just thinking about how beautiful they are. Then you go up a little bit farther, and then there's some flower pots, and you don't like these flower pots, and you're like, oh, those flower pots are just awful. Would you just look at those? They're just an eyesore. Okay, first of all, this is something I would never say because I live in heaven. But there are people who complain and criticize, and they do this. They do exactly this, right? They take something, and because it's, for whatever reason, they don't like it because they're not living in heaven, they complain about it. So they are now creating resistance to what exists. As you do this, I'm not saying you do this, as people do this, think about this. Okay, just listen to this again, and I want you to imagine that it's you saying it. You might even want to say it, and I want you to just experience what it's like. So I'm going for a walk. Oh, and I see the most beautiful flowers. Like, this person's yard is absolutely amazing. It is, oh, it's beautiful. And there's like these butterflies that are landing on these flowers, and it is just heavenly. Okay, think about how that feels as I'm speaking about it, and as you're thinking about it. Okay, now a little farther down the street. Oh, I just see the most terrible eyesore of a thing, a flower pot. If they even can call it a flower pot. I mean, look at that hideous thing over there. Now, I realize I said this in a fun voice, so this might still be fun for you, but you get where I'm going with this. You can feel the consciousness shift between accepting and loving what is there in front of you and rejecting it and resisting it. Ugh, rejection. Oh, I don't like this. Okay, so what has happened in this from the accepting and to the rejecting? Okay, so when you are accepting, so this is, I'm explaining to you the basics of the basics, so you know this. But when you are accepting of what is, you're actually accepting it, right? You're actually welcoming it, allowing it, loving it, letting it be there. This, whatever it is, you're allowing the flow to come in. This is why it feels so nice. Okay, but then when you see the thing that you don't like, or you hear somebody complaining about the thing that they don't like, whatever it happens to be, that negative, whatever, person, people, things, you can feel the resistance, and it is a feeling of pushing away, right? So the acceptance of, oh, look at the beautiful thing, and the rejection, the pushing away of the thing I don't like. Now here's the thing about the thing. When you tighten yourself up, which is exactly what happens, you actually physically tighten your body up when you start criticizing and complaining and pushing things away. Like, you can imagine yourself pushing something away, right? You're pushing. You can feel the tension in your body pushing away all the things that are around you. And you can feel the difference between being open and just accepting all the good and wonderful things that are flowing to you. So now when you live in this rejection of things through criticizing and complaining, or whatever it happens to be, rejecting the things that are there in front of you, like the I don't like this, I don't want that type of thing, you're pushing away the divine. You're pushing away the pure love of the divine. You're pushing it. And you will never find happiness by doing this. It's never going to happen. Because you're pushing away all of the things, and the things that you want, you push those away too, because you're in a vibration of rejection and unacceptance. And therefore, the happiness that you're seeking, you're never going to find it because you keep pushing everything away. So when you think about the trees, we've talked about this, I know, a million times, but this is a really good example of it. How the trees don't complain when they lose their leaves. Now, here's something else about those trees. By the time that those leaves are ready to fall off, their energy has been depleted. This is why they go from looking green and lush and healthy and beautiful to all of a sudden the color starts changing, and then they begin to kind of rot and decay. This is because the life within them has been depleted. Therefore, the energy that was there has been depleted. But we know energy never ceases to exist. So where does it go when it falls off the tree? Now the tree knows that everything is love. You know, it intuitively knows this. I have felt the love from a tree. If you've never hugged a tree before, you are seriously missing out on life. I'm not even joking. One of the most profound experiences I ever had, a extremely spiritual experience I had, was from putting my hands on a tree, putting my head on the tree, because the tree told me to do it. And oh man, I felt the love moving through my body unlike it was actually that moment in time, now that I am thinking about it, when I experienced the love that exists within everything, and that was what created no doubts within me. This is how I can do the healing work with my people, because I don't have the doubt, because I've experienced and felt the love, and it flowed through me from a tree. So you know how they are talking about, there's just some amazing freaking TED Talks out there about trees and the communication between them and whatnot. And the movie Avatar, and how it's showing, as they're moving from thing to thing, it's just all connected. 1,000,000,000%, that is exactly true. And I felt the love that you could never get from another person. It is pure love. It is perfect love flowing through this. And then I realized through this, this is what's available to us, but we put so many limits on it. We resist what is there. And this is why most people, especially those who don't understand, will never be able to experience it in this lifetime. They're gonna have to wait till they croak, and then they can remember it, and then they can be like, right, that's why we came here. Okay, let's do it again. And then they'll have to come back. So these leaves on the trees fall off, and the tree is not sitting there desperately clinging to this old decayed energy that is hanging off of it, right? It knows it's time to let it go. So it does. Zero resistance. Goes through winter. What happens? Renewed, new life energy comes into it. This new life force energy surges through it, and beautiful new leaves and growth appears. Maybe even flowers, maybe even fruit. But because it creates no resistance, the perfect work of the divine is accomplished and carried out. So, whatever you've been resisting, you can do something about it right now in this moment. You can pause me and you can take a moment to deal with it. So, whatever you've been resisting, get a piece of paper, write it down. What are all these things I've been resisting? What are these ways that I actually feel that I'm talking myself out of feeling? You're not doing yourself or anybody any favors by doing this. By rejecting what is happening is you are lying to yourself. You don't like it when other people lie to you. Now that you're aware that this is what you're doing, that you're lying to yourself, stop doing it. Now that you have the awareness, you can't do it anymore. You want to keep lying to yourself? I wouldn't recommend it. Why? Because when you lie, then you build the fabric of your reality off of that. And you're building it off of a lie. So, you can take a moment here right now and make a list. What are all the things that I have been rejecting? What are all the things that I'm trying not to feel? Let's say that you're really trying to accomplish something, or you're really trying to do something, and something happens and you're like, oh, I don't want to feel this way, I don't want to feel this way, I'm not going to feel this way, I'm not going to feel this way, I'm not going to feel this way. You're not helping yourself. I know that you believe that you are. But through the rejection and the resistance, which is the lie that you tell yourself, you're not only not doing yourself any favors, but the best thing that you can do is be honest with yourself. Just like you expect everybody else to be honest with you, you can at least be honest with yourself. Now that you're out of this unawareness and you've stepped into the awareness of it, as you make your list, all you've got to do is sit there and take a couple moments, minutes, however much time you got, and sit in it. So if you're pissed at your parents because they hurt you, or you're sad because they didn't love you properly, maybe they abandoned you when you needed them the most, maybe they just rejected you in some way, maybe they didn't accept you properly, maybe there's a million different, I can't even give you all the examples, whatever happened that you haven't admitted to yourself yet, or allowed yourself to accept. I feel this way about this. Whatever emotional rejection that you have had, sit in it for like a minute or two and let yourself feel it. You will feel the energetic shift happen as the resistance, the lie that you had been telling yourself, as that goes away, because that is the biggest part of that chaos in the first place, is you're resisting what actually is. And as soon as that goes away, you're just going to feel this feeling of peace, like everything's all right. I don't even know it till right now, but everything really is all right. It's more than all right. And it's going to completely change the way that you feel. So I did this. I challenge you to do the same. I felt a certain way. And I was like, oh, this is dangerous. I don't want to feel this way. But then I was like, no, it's fine. I'm going to let myself feel that way. And I did. And immediately that feeling eased off. And it turned into a feeling of peace. I promise you. Little baby steps. Do this. Write the things down that you've been resisting and you've been rejecting, and just love them, just nurture them, and just care for them. I want you to think about your feelings like you would little kids that are lost. And when, these little kids that are lost are feeling a certain way and you reject them and you're like, get the hell off my lawn, kid. I don't want you here. I don't even want to see you around here. That poor little kid. They're going to go off. They're going to go hide somewhere. So you can't find them, so that you can't abuse them. This is what happens with your emotions. It's like, oh, not safe to bring that up again. I guess they're not uncomfortable with this anymore. All right, I better go back down and hide in here. And then it'll come out in some form of addiction. You're maybe going to drink your face off. You're going to be addicted to something. You're going to drink. You're going to, I don't know, that was the only example that I can think of here that came up. But there's a million things. You could be addicted to food. You could be addicted to, there's just a billion different things that it could play out as. All because these feelings go in our bodies and then they hide and then they manifest and then they'll pop up as physical ailments. Why? Because I feel a certain way, I'm lying to myself about it, and so I'm creating double conflict within me. If you do have past trauma, deal with it. Work on it. Heal it. This is why I'm here. I love you guys. I've healed my shit, and I had to heal. You don't even know the half of it, and I've told you guys not even the half of it. But from just what you know, from what I've told you, from my experiences, I've been there, done that, been through it. And you know what? I healed, I recovered, and I know how valuable I am now. And I realized before, clearly I didn't believe that. I didn't believe in the worthiness. I thought maybe I did, but I obviously did not believe in it. Not the way that I do now. I see that we are meant to be healed and whole. We are meant to be protected and cared for and nurtured. And all we must do is believe in the love of the divine. But because people believe in good and evil more than they believe in the love, they experience exactly that, their beliefs in the good and the evil, and then they experience the good and the evil because they believe in it. So stop rejecting anything that comes in. And if it's something that you don't love, that's fine. Realize, recognize, you know what, I created this in some way. I used to be afraid that this would happen, and look, now it's happened. I guess I created that. And just accept it and just love it. It's doing you no harm in doing that. And all you're going to be doing is putting out good, which that good is going to be returned back to you through the electromagnetic forces of the universal laws that exist within our universe, holding it all together. Consciousness creates. What you're focusing on will be created. That exact same energy, that exact same frequency that goes out is returned back every single time without fail. You can't escape it. And your thoughts are electric. They're electrical. They go out. Through magnetism, they are returned back in the exact same frequency in which they were sent out. So whatever happens to come into your life, through your thoughts, through your words, through your actions, the words that you're speaking, what you're creating out in the world, whether it's fears or whether it's goodness, both will be returned back to you. So what do you want to create? And when you're sending out rejections, rejecting things, feel the energy. It's chaotic. Therefore, the energy that you're sending out, you don't even realize you're doing it, are subconsciously chaotic, and pretty soon all the things that are freaking happening in your life are chaotic, and you're like, why is this happening to me? And you think you're a victim of it, and it's everybody else's fault, and you are the only person to blame. It is 100% on you, because you don't know the love of the divine, because you doubt in the love of the divine. And because you believe in good and evil, because this is what you've experienced in your past, and you expect it to repeat, and therefore the ills of yesterday are repeated again and again and again and again. And you do not know that something absolutely wonderful is not going to happen for you tomorrow, but you guarantee that it will not be so when you expect the same thing as yesterday and as years gone past. This is why we need to mentally cleanse, go check out the Mental Cleanse series, away all of those things from the past so that we can create a clean future that is in alignment with the divine. How nice does this feel? Think about this for a second. Every morning when I wake up, I lay in bed and I ask myself, what % of heaven am I in? Now, some days it's 98, some days it's 99, and some days it's 100. It really just depends on the day. It was not always this way. Now, several years ago, if I would have woken up and I would have heard that it was 98%, I would have been like, this sounds wonderful to me. I'll take that. And now I'm like, dang it. it? There's this 2%. What is going on? And I keep hearing every time that it's this sadness, whatever it is. So I'll go in and I will do the work on it. Okay, and then by the time that I'm going to spring up out of bed, there is this feeling of joy and excitement in my day. And it is uplifting and it is wonderfully, wonderfully good. And as you go throughout your whole day, as I go throughout my whole day, I leave, I get in my car, immediately I start smiling. My car is my happy place. I cannot even help it. And I will just sometimes burst out in laughter. This is not sometimes, this is all the time. It will be for absolutely no reason. I won't even have a thought in my brain and it's just coming out. I will listen to music really loud. That will bring me joy. So many things. And then I go about my day. I do the things that I got to do. And it's so wonderfully uplifting. How did that feel as I just told you that? It feels pretty nice, doesn't it? It feels pretty exciting. This is yours. This is yours. It is all about your attitude. It is all about what you expect. And when you expect good and wonderful things to happen, they do. So start writing them down. Start writing it down. I did affirmation, heavenly affirmations the other day. You could go and listen to that. Think about what you want to create in your world and get into the frequency of that. If you want to live in a high vibe, happy world, you got to have a high vibe and you got to be happy. And then things that are in alignment with that are going to magnetize themselves to you. But you cannot do this as long as you are holding on to old energetic attachments that are not that frequency. It's time to let it go. You have to let it go. You have to clear it out and you have to let it go, or nothing new can come and attach itself to you. And you're going to want to have wonderful things magnetized that are in the same frequency as you. When you're in that high vibe frequency, you're going to want that for yourself. You will want these things magnetized, but you cannot do that until you let go of whatever that thing is. Maybe it's someone, maybe it's something in your environment, maybe it's a career, maybe it's a move, maybe it's a place that you're living. I don't know what it is, but sometimes we hold on to things and the leaves are falling off and they're decaying and they look horrible. And we're like, don't, I need to keep my leaves. I need to keep what's left of them here. And you absolutely do not need to keep it. It's old energy. It's dying. It's decaying. It wants to fall off. It wants to go. You just got to let it go. And then when you let it go, well, you're going to have a little period of maybe not having anything around. But you know what? If you ever look at a tree in the middle of wintertime, it looks pretty peaceful, doesn't it? When it's sitting there and it's covered with this beautiful snow and it's just sitting there. It's not complaining. It's not anything. It's just waiting for spring. And it is, it's got this excitement and anticipation for what is coming. But at the same time, it's not looking ahead. It's just sitting there peaceful in the moment, being what it is, not resisting, not rejecting a dang thing. So I hope that you guys won't resist liking this video here. I would really appreciate it as it helps the algorithm. I love you. I don't reject any of you. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. You guys are wonderful, absolutely amazing. Whatever that thing is that you need to let go of, do it. And whatever that thing is that you've been lying to yourself about, or maybe there's many, many things, maybe this has been going on for years and years and years and years and years, whatever those things are, just remember, sit in it, be in it, let it be there. And it's just going to melt away and turn into peace. I promise you that. All right. That's it for today. If you haven't already, go check out the Mental Cleanse playlist. I have these daily podcasts today, so if this is the first time you're tuning in, I love you and welcome here. And there's a million more that you can check out and watch. And I hope you stick with me and share me with your friends. I love you guys. Okay. All right. I will see you guys next time. Take care.